And welcome to Witch Hat Chats. Come on in and sit for our spell. We're sponsored by Evermoving We Rise Institute, LLC, Evermoving We Rise Temple, and Saul Ravencraft, Texas Mojo Man. I am your goddess host, Miss Flame, and our co-host, Saul Ravencraft, is somewhere around here. So where are you going to appear?
Hello there. Good to see you.
And how are you doing, Mr. Saul?
I'm hanging in there. I just finished up Sherwood. That's a big thing to wind up Sherwood. It's something that takes a lot of my focus for 2+ months. It takes up to 3 to 4 days of my week while I try to make other stuff go in between, and I'm fully immersed in it for each weekend, and then it's done. So just stop now, and it's kind of a big abrupt stop. So my sleep is weird right now, and some residual exhaustion is getting dealt with right now, and I've got to jump back on all the other things. I've got a wedding I'm officiating at this weekend that I get some stuff wrapped up for. I've got a wedding that I'm doing readings for next week that I've got to get some stuff wrapped up for, and it's a lot. It's a lot, and there's a lot of things that I'm trying to remix in my own head about what I'm doing. I mean, you know what that's like. There's a lot involved with those kinds of transitions, and figure out what you're gonna do. It's different when you work for somebody and they just tell you what to do. And you just do what you're told. But when it's you gotta figure it out. And often nobody cares whether you figure it out or not. Right? They're not necessarily worried whether or not you get it done. And that can require a lot of self-care to keep you afloat. It can be very lonely and depressing sometimes. But that's the way. I've done the other way, and I'm not sure how I would go back. But figuring it out, you're doing some of that too.
Oh yeah. I didn't get to go to the Spring Mysteries.
Oh no.
Something came up. Yeah, something came up, and I was unable to attend. However, I will be making that class available online shortly.
Excellent.
So that will be through the Evermoving We Rise Institute, LLC. So when that website comes up, it will be made available soon. And so I'm looking forward to that. And a lot of things are going to be coming up. So
while not getting to go to that sucks, this is one of the realities of taking control of your world, and this is something that some people who have not made this jump don't understand. Is when it's you sometimes got to make big grown-up decisions that totally suck because that's the way it's got to be. You know, you gotta deliver your own bad news to yourself, and you got to do it. And this is true not only from an entrepreneurial standpoint, but this is true from a spiritual standpoint, right? When you take on a path like ours, you got to own your shit.
Right.
Right? There's no entity that has volunteered to take that away for you in exchange for you doing unconditional love, taking care of the poor, leaving the world better than you found it. Some people leave that part out. But you know, there's you know, that's the deal. In exchange for releasing some of your burdens, you take on some of this work, and you bring love into the world. That's the way it's supposed to be. But when you take on a path like ours, where you're manifesting, you're deciding how you want things to be, and you're bringing it about. Well, if something goes wrong, you have to forgive yourself, and you have to do something about it. Right? Doesn't mean you don't have help. Doesn't mean you don't have allies. Doesn't mean that there aren't gods and goddesses and entities and ancestors and all that upholding you in this. But nobody's going to do it for you.
Right.
Nobody. And so when you have to do something that sucks, you just got to put on your big girl panties and do it. And you don't get to whine about it. It's fair to cry sometimes, right? But you can't whine, right? You got to do it while those tears flow. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't appreciate, that when you're getting into the weeds and the tough stuff, you don't just get to go, oh, well, I don't feel like this. It's hard. You know, someone else needs it. But who else can do it? And our world right now is just all about that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's here.
You know, but that doesn't mean that you necessarily have to give up either.
No.
So, you know, no.
So I'm
anyway.
I'm sorry you had to make a tough call, but I'm sure you made the right call, or you made the best call you could.
Right.
And you're not done yet. It's not the last opportunity.
Right.
You had to refocus that energy, and you had to make the decision. And how wonderful that you are on a path where you have the authority to make that decision, and no one can stop you.
Right. Exactly. So, like I said, I'm still going to be back on the road, and things are still upcoming, and I still got other dates. So,
well, I think that's great.
Not a big
and
deal.
You know, you did what you had to do, and everything is forward.
Right. Right. So, what is our divination for today?
Well, this seems appropriate for what we were talking about. This comes from Dove Candy Bar, a great oracle, an important oracle. We should all read our candy.
Delicious chocolate.
Well, and I've gained a lot of wisdom from Laffy Taffy over the years. There's good, important stuff in there. But it just goes to show you can find something useful anywhere if you're open to look at it. So from the Dove Candy Bar, it says, be brave enough to be bad enough at something new. Right?
Right.
Are you being bad at all kinds of things right now?
I think that started back when I turned 40.
Well, and see, it's a great thing. It's a great thing to go try things and fail at them and figure them out, and to get better and better as you go. as opposed to just following that path of least resistance. You're not gonna do anything important if you don't get out of that comfort zone, and finding something that you're really pulled toward, that you're really motivated to do, that you absolutely suck at. But you got to do it anyway. I mean, this is where the interesting stuff happens. I've been finding several ways where I'm having to push myself right now, and it's hard. And I'm not having fun with all. Now, people will tell you, you do what you love, and you're always having fun. You're always having a good time. I'm going to tell you outright, Nikki, that is a big, fat lie. Sometimes doing what you love, right? Okay, I love my daughter. Show me one parent that looked forward to changing a diaper. Show me one parent that looked forward to trying to have hard conversations and dealing with discipline, and trying to get this person to understand the impact their actions had on things, and all of that. I mean, it's not fun to do those things. You can do them gently, you can do them with love, but it's not fun. Who's having fun with their shadow work? Are you having fun with your shadow work, Nikki?
Sometimes I am.
Sometimes you are. Sometimes it really sucks.
It does. It's not all fun and games, but
you do
when
it
people
anyway.
say about shadow work, they're always thinking about the bad parts of it. But it's not always bad, because a lot of shadow work is discovering exactly who you are. That's what shadow work is all about. And you can discover new abilities of who you are, things that you've forgotten who you are, like
Oh, yeah.
new techniques and stuff like that.
And
So
when you get to the
instead
other
of being
side of
negative
that,
all the time, hell, let's put some positivity in there. Yeah.
well, when you get to the other side
And
of
once you
that,
get to the other side, hell, you're awesome.
well, you see yourself naked and beautiful in front of the mirror with no shame. Because shame is how people manipulate us. And self-shame is, I think, about the worst
Shame
there
is bullshit.
It is. It is. And yet, we live within that. And so being able to let go of those anchors and those limitations and those need for validation and permission and all of that, and being willing to go into that uncharted territory, being willing to go toward that stuff where people pointed at you and said, "Oh no, not you, Flame, not you. Yeah, you go practice digging holes." Right? That's just not. That's not
You know
it.
what I would say to them? You know what I would say to them?
What?
I would say to them, you show me how to dig that hole first.
What do you say when that person's looking at
And I'll
you?
go over there and do your job.
What do you say when that person's looking at you from a mirror? And don't tell me that never happens.
Oh, they always look at me from a mirror. I don't care. I don't care. I still tell them that. You know, this is interesting. I was watching a TED Talk yesterday, and it was talking about your negative thoughts. And it said that you do one of two things with negative thoughts. Either you try to push them out of your mind, which doesn't really do any good, or you have positive thoughts to run them out. And that doesn't really do any good either, right? So instead of treating them like that, why don't you treat them like they've got a message to tell you something. Flip it over like an opportunity. You know, when they say that you're no good, ask them, what do you mean by no good? What is their definition of being no good? It's like she gave an example of a client that she called. I don't know what the name was. Let's say it's Darlene. Okay, Darlene thought that she was ugly, or actually, she thought that she was not smart. And Darlene was really smart. She got really good grades. She was brilliant at a lot of different things. And when they finally asked her what she meant by that she was dumb, she said that she couldn't tell people's behaviors. That's what she meant by dumb. So she was like emotionally dumb because she couldn't understand people's behaviors. That's what she meant by
Right.
being stupid. And so when you get these negative thoughts, you need to ask them what did they mean by that thought. You know, instead of when people say that you're stupid, or when you think that you're stupid, say, what do you mean by that? Exactly, what do you mean by that? And go into that. And I thought that was really interesting, you know, because when you say, well, you're stupid, like, Saul, you're stupid. You never say, well, Saul, you're stupid at this because of this. You need to really kind of go into kind of detail so you can kind of figure that out and resolve that. You know, that is, and I thought, she has a point. Instead of making an enemy within yourself, you should try to make a friend. That way, they can be able to help you resolve that instead of you always put yourself down and never have it resolved.
I think that's a great technique. I will say, though, that for myself, one of the things that I've had to really address is this whole idea of making everything a problem to be solved. I am not a problem to be solved. I have problems that need solving, right? And I'm working on that stuff. But we get into this mode where everything has to have an answer and a resolution. And I finally recognized that no, everything doesn't. You know, it's
Right.
okay to leave that crossword puzzle half finished because you're done with it. It's okay. So I had a night at the backstage at Sherwood. The shows were done, and I'm kind of I'm gonna have a cigar, and I'm gonna chill, and everybody else in the group is sitting around playing guitar and doing folk music and that kind of thing. And I'm thinking, this is really not what my brain needs right now. This is not it. And so I just told them, love what you're doing, but I gotta have a slightly different energy. And I pulled myself over to the side. You know, I didn't go off in a huff or anything like that. I didn't expect them to change what they were doing, but I went off and I enjoyed my cigar and I watched a Mongolian heavy metal concert on my phone and just let myself soak in that energy, because that's really the energy that I needed right then. I didn't need this kind of soft, gentle kind of thing. I needed, I needed some power going on there. And there's this band called The Who that I went to see with my daughter and her boyfriend that is just wonderful. H-U, Who, right? And so I soaked all that in, and I felt wonderful. But I could have just sat around going, gosh, I wish y'all weren't playing this. I can't really be involved in this. Yeah. I just shifted, and I didn't expect anybody else to accommodate me. And sometimes what we need to do is not dwell, not go to the root of it. Sometimes we just need to go, just not doing this. Not going to do this. Doesn't matter why. Just not doing it. And let our energy shift instead of trying to dwell into, well, why? Why do I feel this way? Sometimes you just run with it. Does it make sense? It's not running away, I don't think. There are times where you got to introspect, and there's times where you just got to do your thing.
It's like me and my mother. My mother, our neighbors on this side, they're so close to us that every time they pull up in their driveway, my dog barks. Every time they come out of their house, my dog barks. Every time something happens, my dog barks. My mom always wants to know what's going on outside. What's going on outside? I want to get up and walk over there. Well, you know what? I don't care. I frankly do not give a shit. Okay? I really just don't give a damn. Okay? Even when I'm outside, I may look, but I don't care. I'm not really interested in what they're doing over in their yards or anything else. I just don't give a damn. Okay? My mom says I'm too much like my father because I just don't pry into other people's situations or anything like that. I'm just not one of those people, okay? And it drives me insane that she's like, Nikki, go and see who's at the door. Mama, there's nobody at the door. It's the neighbors. Oh, go see who pulled up in the yard. Nobody's pulled up in the yard. It's the neighbors. It's the neighbors. It's the neighbors. It's the neighbors. Because I always have to end up getting up and walk to the door. And guess what? There's nobody there. It's the freaking neighbors. And it's just, hey. And she's like, you're not curious? Because I'm just don't give a shit. Okay? There's things I care about that I think that are important. And then there's things that I just don't give a damn. And when I just don't give a damn, I don't. So yes, I do understand where you're coming from, Saul.
Well, and I would say that it's fair that one of the reasons why your mother is so curious is because she's bored. That she doesn't have a lot to do, and so any possibility for something of interest is going to be motivating. But what I find is when you start actually bringing things about, when you got stuff to do, you're really not bored. You're not looking for something to distract you or inform you, and there's all kinds of things that are suddenly none of your business because I'm busy. I'm thinking. I'm doing, and when you start to really manifest, when you start to really focus on that, you become much less of a busybody.
It's true, and it also ends up getting on my nerves. But I love my mom. I truly do, and it's just it just irritates me at times. It really does. But anyway, we need to take a short break for our wonderful sponsors, and we will be right back with Witch Chat Chats. Stay tuned. We are all magical beings. As a solitary practitioner, you forge your own path, growing, evolving, and discovering your power. But the solitary road can be difficult, filled with challenges, setbacks, and self-doubt. What do you do when things bump back? At Evermoving We Rise Temple, our name is our way of life. We understand that spirituality is deeply personal, yet the journey is easier with guidance, support, and community. Here, you'll not only learn to wield the magical tools at your fingertips, but also develop the personal responsibility and confidence to own your magic. In our safe and welcoming space, you'll gain the reinforcement you need to master your craft, surrounded by a magical family that stands strong together. Step beyond the solitary struggle and step into a thriving community dedicated to your magical evolution. Start today. Visit our website, Linktree, or Facebook page. Discover why we don't fit in the box. And coming soon, the Evermoving We Rise Institute. Your next step in mastering your spiritual path and deepening your magical practice. The journey doesn't stop here. Are you ready to rise?
I'm Saul Ravencraft, co-host of Witch Hat Chats. I understand just how confusing and chaotic it can be to open to a path of magic and manifestation. Everything seems to turn on its head. I want to be an ally as you find the way upon your path. My studio setup will let us do readings, coaching, and exploration virtually, just as though you were sitting across the table from me. One size does not fit all, and we will work together to craft the right approaches to build your practice, your confidence, and your power using the tools of divination, magical works, and spirit connections. It's never too late to embrace a new path and emerge empowered. Go to TexasMojoMan.com and select Contact to begin. There's a message now. Let's get started working on your very good fortune.
Welcome back to Witch Hat Chats. It is I, Saul Ravencraft, speaking to you from my studio here, but I am not alone. I am never alone. Here we have Miss Flame and her. Is that a studio? What would you call your space there? How would you describe that in a fun way?
Oh, it's in between of the in between. There we go.
Ah, there we go. At least it's not the upside down. That's not what we want there.
It's neither here nor there, no anywhere. There we go.
Yeah, it's where it gets done, right?
Yeah, it's where shit gets done.
That's right. Oh man. So we're you and I talked about this thing going on earlier in the year. We were both experiencing disconnects with ourselves. You were dealing with a lot of frustration and anger and that sort of thing that was distracting you. It was keeping you from pointing your energy where you wanted. I was getting what I was thinking of as these kind of fugue states where I couldn't really think. I couldn't decide. I was just, I was just floating around. And if you're on a path where it's kind of up to you what happens next, the inability to decide or just flow into anything was a real problem. And we realized, I believe we talked about on the show, that because of all the crazy going on in the world, that we're having to really work harder at the basics, on the grounding and the shielding and the cleansing and the intention and all that, because the vampires are run amok, and it is affecting that foundation So we got to do a lot of foundation work. And, we've had it good for a while, honestly, right?
Yeah.
The general vibe of the world and the universe has been pretty good. And now there is just so much screaming that it's hard to focus. And it doesn't help that not only do we not only do we have to do things for ourselves and our path and our intentions and that kind of thing, but the stones are crying out. And nature is crying out. The universe is crying out. And we have to put something into that as well. And we're frankly just out of shape. We're not used to some of this stuff.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I think it's just going to get worse coming up. And people are out there and they're protesting against a lot of these things that are going on. And I truly agree with a lot of the protests that's going on, because our world is changing, and a lot of the things that's changing is not for the better. People need to be heard. We are not experiencing the things that we were experiencing this time, last year. And so people are getting out there and they're protesting, and our people that have been elected are holding, councils and stuff, and they're not liking what they're hearing. Well, I'm sorry, but, it's your job, okay? It's your job to pick up your britches, and stand up for the little people that you are elected for. It's not your job to get up there and sit on your butt and just say, sure, whatever, and drink your beer, okay?
Well, but I would also say that we, as humans, we as society, we as practitioners, we got to do our job too. And one of the things that comes up a lot is trying to, I've got this neighbor and she has problems getting to the doctor, and so there needs to be a system for doing that. Well, part of that system is that we occasionally give them a ride to the doctor.
Right.
Right? There's trash around, and it's terrible, this trash that's going on. Well, maybe we pick it up. Right?
But make sure you have gloves on when you pick stuff like that up, okay?
Or go wash your hands, right?
No. You need to have gloves, because you don't know if there's needles or stuff like that that's hidden in it. The reason why I said gloves.
Well, but
and wash your hands afterwards.
But the point is, so did you ever see the series The Good Place? Michael Schur.
I did, and I kind of thought it was.
Well, I watched the whole thing. I thought it was brilliant, and I think you get more out of it if you go along for the whole ride, because it's not the same throughout. It leads you up to an idea, and then we run with that idea, and then we get to another threshold and we run with that. And so ultimately, the show is about ethics. It's a sitcom about ethics and philosophy and spirituality and all of that, which should not work. But they have just enough stupid in there to make you laugh, while they give you this other deeper stuff. Well, the Michael Schur wrote a book because they had a lot of philosophy. People studied philosophy. I mean, philosophers, right? But university people and psychology people and that kind of thing involved with the show. to help them figure out how to hit some of these ideas. And so he wrote a book that talked about the different philosophers that were underneath the ideas in the show, and who were they, and what were their ideas, and some of that. And I listened to the audiobook, which was fun because he had some of the cast members come in and portray their character a little bit for a phrase or two. And the one that still makes me laugh is they got onto this idea that the perfect example of ethical behavior is putting your shopping cart back. Because if you don't do it, no one's going to do anything. It's entirely up to you whether or not you do it. No one's going to make you. No one's going to stop you. Right? It's entirely up to you whether or not you do this thing. And Michael, the angel / devil, all right, in the show, this other being who's kind of detached from humanity, he pops in. He says, "Do I really have to put my shopping cart back? I mean, it's all the way over there." I mean, that's hilarious because that's a perfect example. And then they get into things. Well, what if they pay someone to go around and move the shopping carts? If you put it up, are you detracting from that? And so the idea of putting your shopping cart back actually has these other levels going on there that you hadn't thought about. But this is what we're getting into now, is we built up this idea that we were going to get taken care of by the institutions. And now the institutions are being burned to the ground. So what are you going to do? Cry? What are you going to do? Right? Let's say that they just okay, so you're just never going to get funding for these things from the federal government again. They're just not going to pay it. They're not going to tax for it, right? You know, the roads, they're not doing roads anymore. Okay, so that's it. All right, so no roads, right? Right? Or is there another answer?
We'll go back to dog sledding.
Well, but are there other ways? Are there things that we are dependent upon the institutions for, that we have other ways to handle it? Now, I think the government is very well positioned to provide a lot of things universally if it will do it. Right? I think they are a fantastic way to do that stuff. And I love it. But if they're not going to do it, does that mean we just do without it? The Satanic Temple here in Austin has been distributing feminine hygiene products to places that are having problems getting those funded or available. Why? Well, because it needs to be done and somebody's got to do it, and everybody else is just going, and the Satanic Temple is going, well, we can get tampons out there. This is not hard, you know? And
Whoa. Let me ask you this question. And the Texas Attorney General is okay with that?
Well, I'm sure if you were sitting down with him over, you know, the while he enjoyed, you know, smoking crack and drinking the tears of liberals, that he would have all kinds of stuff to say about it. But the fact is he can't do a damn thing about it. He really can't, because this is the people handling the stuff. And you've seen things where they've tried to do, they've tried to go, well, we're going to set it up so that you're not allowed to hand somebody a bottle of water. And it kind of goes to a point, and then people go, wait, what? What is wrong with you? Right? I mean,
come on, this is Texas. They are prosecuting a woman for having an abortion.
Well, and
She
and
wasn't having an abortion. She had a miscarriage, for God's sakes. And they're saying that she had an abortion.
and that's all a total mess. That is all a total mess. Unbelievably so. And it is so sad and so frustrating. But underneath that kind of thing are people that are happy to take a woman someplace safe on a camping trip. Right? While the system is messed up, there are people that are doing things that provide avenues. And this goes all the way back to the Underground Railroad during slave times. Right? That same kind of attitude, that same kind of activity is going on. And it's not lying quietly. The opposition continues, and yes, one of the methods is let's get this fixed. Let's get these laws fixed, and work is being done there. But underneath that, there are also people going, well, how else can we get this done? How else can we make this happen? You know,
We're
Texas.
going to run to the Satanic Temple is what we're going to do.
Well, see, and the interesting thing is you know there's been laws kind of posed around. Well, we're going to make sure that women aren't allowed to travel across state lines if they might be doing something unproved, right? And that kind of floats around, and the talk about it and all that. This is me putting on the voice, and they when it finally gets down to the brass tacks, people are like, what? What do you mean you're gonna restrict pregnant women's travel in Texas? Right? That's right up there with ICE detaining Canadians for a while. And all of this crazy stuff that's happening. Yeah, it's happening, and it's really hard to do anything about it quickly. But it's not automatically just flowing. And we've got a lot of examples of where that's the case. But now some of those that used to defend us have stepped aside and gone, not in the face, not in the face. Right? And we are left on our own. So what are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it, witch? You know, and it's hard. It's inconvenient. It sucks. But since when did they take all our power?
Right. Right. It's like the revolutionary days are coming back all over again, you know? People keep saying it's just with people being taken up off of the streets, you know, the immigrants being taken up off the streets and then they're deported. If they can do that to one person in the United States, it should affect everybody, whether you're
Oh,
a
yeah.
citizen or not in this United States. Okay? Because every person in the United States is protected by our Constitution
Exactly.
and our Bill of Rights. And it's scary when you have leaders of our United States that are disobeying the Supreme Court. And right now we are in what they call a constitutional crisis.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really terrifying right now. So that's the reason why we do our protest. This is the reason why we go to these town hall meetings. This is the reason why we call our Congress people. This is the reason why we do our magic. This is the reason why we do our protection magic. And yes, we need to do our protections. And protection magic goes beyond just the physical. Okay? I even do protection magic for people who are even mentally unstable. I do protection magic for them to keep them into this world, to keep their minds focused. I do protection magic for all kinds of different reasons to be able to do that. When you go out to protest, you ought to have some sort of protection magic around you. Because you need it. You definitely need it. You also should have a few spells in your mind, just in case things don't go, in case what I say, or as Harry Potter put it, all hell breaks loose. We can plan, but as soon as we get there, all hell breaks loose, Hermione.
So give me an example of what's in your mental spell toolkit that you keep ready.
One thing is that I've done this back when I was a kid because I used to grow up on really mean streets, and I've had, I grew up with brothers, especially when I had to go and hide. And you're going to laugh at this, but in Star Wars, where Obi-Wan Kenobi in the first one, or in the fourth, it's the fourth episode, but it's supposed to be the first one, but it's in the fourth episode. Where Obi-Wan Kenobi says, "These are not the droids you're looking for." I always say, "These are not the witches you are looking for." And I say that over and over again. Every time I'm pulled over, that's what I keep saying in my mind, over and over and over and over and over again. And most of the time, I get let go, or I get let go off with a warning. Most of the time. That's one of the things I do. Or I make up something very, very quickly. And I'm experienced enough to be able to do that.
Right.
I also do things that if I need to have something hidden, I'll make up a spell of an invisibility to where they cannot see me. I also lower my chi, which chi is your energy. That way they cannot be able to see you. And that does help a lot.
Right.
So those things, and if you need somebody to be able to see you, you can always raise that chi as well. And they'll see you. So those are a couple of things that I do.
Nice.
Also, if you're running to a graveyard, because here's the thing: if you run into a graveyard, graveyards for me are my friends, and I know if they follow me, there's only a few reasons why they follow me. Number one, they have to be a cop, because a cop has to follow you. They have to follow you. They have no choice. Unless they just finally decide that you're not worth it. Okay. Unless you've broken the law. If you've broken the law, they have to follow you. Okay. Number two, if they don't follow you, they know that you're crazy because you run into a graveyard to hide. Okay. So that's great. Or number three, they're probably crazy as hell if they're chasing after you. That's another reason. Number four, They could be just like you. In other words, it could be one of us is the reason why they're following you. So, one of those reasons, you know exactly how to deal with them.
Right.
At least I do. Yeah. And see, I deal with spirits, so I know exactly how to deal with all four of them. Because, like I said, graveyards protect me,
Sure.
so I don't have a problem, and I know how to deal with all four of them. But if you, number one, don't break the law, and don't try to resist officers or give officers a reason to harm you, if possible. And I know sometimes things can be unclear, but try to be safe when you do the protesting as much as possible. You don't want to end up on the other side of that gun. Because a lot of times, sometimes magic helps and sometimes it doesn't. So you don't want to have to guarantee on that. So if you go and protest, be safe and good luck. And we're behind you. Okay? And with that, that is all for Witch Hat Chats for today. And so embrace your power, support your community, and keep your fuzzy babies, your family, friends, and yourself safe. And have an absolute magical week.